Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Tell Me Yours, a storytelling podcast with me, your host, Trey Everett. Hello and welcome to another episode of Tell Me Yours, a storytelling podcast with me, your host, Trey Everett. Today on the pod, I have a songwriter, a singer, an actress, a comedian. Dahlya Glick is on the pod today. She's here with an incredible, hilarious story about a wild date she had, and then she buttons off the episode with a truly creepy ghost story there at the end. Thank you so much to Dahlya for sharing both of these great stories today. Without further ado, please welcome Dahlya Glick. I'm curious about that. So when you do take a song into the studio, how do you take finished songs into the studio, or do you take like bits and pieces and ideas and concepts and then like you work with the producers that you work with to get to the final piece? Or
I mean, my song will be like done with like a percentage of it that I kind of want to work out musically, but like it's very chill. I'm very low stakes on making my music, and I'm not like a picky gal, so I don't know. I don't think about it that much, but yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm always curious just because like every person that does record music does things completely differently, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, that's true. I think because it's not my main thing, I just like do it for like expression and fun, you know?
That's cool. Okay, so you're going to tell me a date story.
I'm going to tell you a date story. This is a story. Okay, so listen, I have regrettably been on probably at this point over 200 first dates.
Okay.
A wild amount of dating in my formative years, which I feel like I'm still in, but I happen to be in a very stable, happy relationship now.
That's awesome.
And I do not miss what I used to do.
For sure, yeah.
So I've been on a myriad of really, really insane, weird, dangerous, whatever dates. This one is kind of a sad but funny, wacky situation. So the story goes, I think 2017, I met this lovely man. I'm going to call him Bill.
Perfect.
No, because that's
you're already
like
in
Clinton.
LA at this point.
I'm
that's
already
like
in
the
LA.
Clintons? Is that
I
what you
can't
just
say
said?
Bill. I'm going to call him Bob. I can't say Bill. I feel like I just watched Impeachment. I'm like, I can't be like
Oh,
Bill.
got it. Okay, fair.
I'll say Bob. He had a very generic name, but I just don't want to like use it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll call him Bob.
Bob.
Bob and I met on a dating app, as one does. I don't remember which one. Very, very nice. I think our first date, we went to a bar. I think it was Little Joy on Sunset.
Okay.
And he was super, super nice. You know, nothing's wrong. Really nice date. Not a ton of like chemistry, but like it was nice. And that's all I can ask for when I go on a first date.
100%.
I just want to survive.
100%.
Here's the first weird part is at that bar, we were being served by a girl I recognized.
Okay.
I recognized her because I had watched a film that she had starred in, because I was showed this film by another guy I had a few sexcapades with. He was like, here's a film I made. Of course, everyone in LA is a filmmaker, and watch this film I made. This man showed me his film, which his ex-girlfriend had starred in. Okay. And then we had sex and it was fine. And he happened to live underneath. This is a different guy. We'll call him Bill.
Okay. Yeah.
Live underneath the first apartment I ever lived in LA. This is a small LA store. Anyways, so I was casually sleeping with this guy. I honestly don't remember his real name, if I'm being honest. But this bartender was his ex-girlfriend who had also starred in the film, who happens to be serving me on this new date. And I'm like, oh my God, small world, right? I was like, hey, I saw you in that film. And she's like, whoa, really? Because it's not a famous film.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm friends with blank, with Bill. She was like, oh. Meanwhile, I'm just like, oh my God, I fucked this girl's. Can I say that bad words on there?
You say whatever you want.
Like, I fucked this girl's long-term ex-boyfriend. And I'm on a date with a new guy, Bob. Bob's very nice. We have the date. Everything's fine. just friendly, nothing more than that.
And this was first date with Bob.
First date. Second date with Bob was he came to a show of mine, as one does. You invite them to a show. If you're a performer here, you're constantly in shows. It's an easy way to make them love you.
Yeah.
He comes to the show. He leaves after the show, and I'm like, hey, I saw you in the audience. Like, where'd you go? And he's like, I just got shy, and the show was so good, but I don't know, I didn't want to bother you. And I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, he that's so sad. He came all the way to see this show and whatever.
Didn't even stay to say hi.
He was kind of timid, which was unusual because he was really kind of a butch. I'll say butch because I'm queer and I don't ever say masculine as a as a adjective for some reason, but very tons of tattoos, big beard, not like a shy, sensitive, looking person.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Don't judge a book by its cover. So he left. I think we texted for a few weeks after that, and then we just lost contact. Didn't really see him again. A year later, after some failed relationships, relationships quote.
Yeah.
I had just broken up with a man who looked pretty much identical to Bob. We'll call him Bob number 2.
Okay.
Bob number 2 and I actually did seriously date for a while. Also very tatted, glasses, beard, same exact name as Bob. So Bob and Bob were actually Bob 1.
They actually were Bob 1 and Bob 2. Yeah.
Actually had the same name and looked very similar. But Bob number 2, my real boyfriend at the time, was not a very stable person.
Okay.
Alcoholic, emotionally abusive. That relationship was so stressful that when we broke up, my entire back went into spasm one day and I couldn't move for 4 days because I just was, I don't know, holding a lot in, I guess. So Bob number 2 and I had broken up. It'd been a month since we talked. He was like, hey, I just want to grab a coffee and catch up. As one does, you try to kind of get some closure, just be friends, whatever.
For sure. Yeah.
So that same week though, I had hopped back on the dating apps and reconnected with Bob number 1 from 2017 stuff. And I was like, oh, he was so nice. Yeah, I'd be happy to go out again. I wasn't exactly ready to date again, but I was what's the harm in just going out with someone? Yeah. He was so nice. I know him. I feel safe, whatever. So the day that I had planned, date number 3, a year and a half or a year later with Bob number 1, I was also going to get coffee with Bob number 2 to kind of whatever. Yeah, just check in. Yeah. We had a chat. He ends up being nicer than he's ever been to me. I was like, okay, this is fine. I gotta go. And so I go. I was house sitting at the time, which is part of the story later. I go back to the house, and right as I'm getting ready to leave for prolonged date number 3 with Bob number 1. Does any of this make sense?
Yeah, I'm following. I'm checking. Yeah.
With Bob number 1, I get an email, the most beautiful email I've ever written from Bob number 2, ex Bob. Okay. That's just he's a really, really good writer. And it was the most beautiful, kind thing I've ever read, not written about me. And was just I really, I passed up such a beautiful opportunity. I usually have such an easy time getting over people, but you really stuck with me. And I want to hop on this train again, or whatever the metaphors he was using were written so beautifully. Right. And I was like, oh, I'd never received anything like that from anybody, asking me to get back together in such a really shocking way, because I just seen him a few hours before, and it wasn't really high emotions. It was kind of sad, but I just didn't see it coming. So I was like, fuck. And I sent kind of a quick email back and was like, no, thank you. Oh. I was just like, oh my gosh, I just people don't change within a month, right? So
yeah. Or within a couple hours, yeah.
Essentially. But it was kind of an email I had always dreamed of getting, because ex-Bob was somebody who I pined after so hard and then finally got. And then when I got, it was just a nightmare. So he's a very good person and we're still friends. he's done a lot of growth. He has a beautiful partner, all that stuff. So
Great.
no
Great.
hate there.
Good
But
to
at the
Bob
time,
number 2. Great work.
ex-Bob, doing great.
Yeah.
But he sent me this email and it kind of like shook me literally as I was walking out of the door of this house that I'm house sitting, dog sitting. And so I'm on my way to go to Bob number 1 date in Silver Lake. And I was just kind of like an anxious pool. I manifest stuff very physically. I feel my feelings very physically. So like if I'm nervous, I pass out. If I whatever, I throw up, I pass out, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of trying to calm myself down, going to this other date. I show up. I'm like, I haven't eaten anything because I've been super fucking anxious. Bob number 1 is like, let's go to this bar. I have this reservation at this like dinner place, but like it's not for a while. Like, let's go get a drink. So we go get a single beer and I'm sloshed.
Oh no.
Single beer and I'm sloshed because I hadn't eaten anything and my anxiety is just up the roof. My body's just reacting. I'm trying to like keep it together. We finally get to the restaurant, which is like an hour later. We still wait for like another like half hour, 45 minutes or whatever. So by this time it's like 2 hours into a date where like the main event hasn't happened. And I'm meanwhile just like, I got this crazy email and I'm emotionally like unstable right now, trying to keep together. So we ordered this deep dish pizza, which is the longest thing that anyone's had. But a deep dish pizza takes like a full ass hour to make, like, or more. So like, we're adding like another hour onto this date that I'm already just like, oh my gosh, I'm an extrovert, but like I really did not have the energy.
Yeah.
He was just so nice. And like I am the kind of person who like 8 out of 10 dates I've paid for. And so for someone to plan a date for me and to like take the lead was just like huge. And Bob number 1 was, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. Like, this is so nice. Just be on this date with someone who's like taking care of me. And, but the meanwhile, you know, my head's spinning still and I'm kind of drunk and like definitely haven't eaten anything.
Yeah.
And an alarm goes off on my phone and I'm like, oh crap, my birth control alarm. And I was just like, oops, my alarm. And like, I was like, let me like go to the bathroom real quick, take my birth control because I didn't want to take it in front of him, obviously. I don't know. I say obviously. It's a good idea to take birth control if you need it. But so I come back to the table. There's like an hour and a half into sitting at the table. We finally get our food, and I start to feel super, super sick.
Oh no.
And I'm served like a piece of this pizza, and I'm just like, like I have like a bite and I'm just like, I'm going to throw up for sure. And so I was like,
no.
and this comes out of nowhere because obviously I'm like keeping my cool. And I'm like, I am so sorry, but like, I don't feel good. I have to go to the bathroom. He's like, yeah, sure. That's fine. I go to the bathroom. I like definitely throw up whatever I had in my system, which was not a lot. And my birth control pill had not digested yet. And I see it in the toilet and I'm like, oh my God, I can't waste a birth control pill because if you don't know, if you miss a pill,
that's a big deal.
Me, if I miss a pill, my whole body is like off track.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. And I literally just stared at the pill in this like vomit toilet. Like, do I take it out? Like, do I swallow it again? Like, what? Like, it's technically like clean water in the toilet, I guess. Like, I was like truly lost. I was just like, this cannot be happening. I did not take the pill.
Okay.
But I really did sit there for a moment. I get up, I come. Part of me in my head when I remember this is like, did I take the pill? But I'm like, no. I don't think I did. So I go back to the table. I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't want you to freak out. Like, I just got sick in the bathroom because like, I think I was exposed to the flu because the kid I nanny has the flu. I didn't want to have to explain everything, right?
For sure.
Kind of just explained that. And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, honestly, this isn't the first time someone's thrown up on a date with me. And I was like, what? This poor guy. He's like,
oh,
yeah,
no.
the last girl actually like threw up on the table. And I was like, oh.
What?
Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I am so sorry. I have to go home. Like I have to
Like,
go.
I don't have time for that right now. I
was
gotta
like,
go. Yeah.
this poor man. And then the waitress comes out. She's like, how is everything, you guys?
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
God.
well, I'm gonna leave. It's not because of him. I want you to know, like, he's lovely and like you should eat this pizza with him. Like I was just like I felt so bad and so embarrassed. And so I left and I, left and he's like, do you want me to walk you to your car? I was like, no, no more. I get to my car. I don't know. I blacked out on the drive back to this house. I was house sitting. I come into the house and there's a bird in the house. This is kind of unrelated to the date, but there's a fucking bird in the house. And like, I was just like, what? Like a bird from outside, like flew in with me. And so like the next hour I spent just like trying to get this bird out with a broom and not kill it.
Oh my
And
God.
I finally did get it out, but it was just like it was just like a wild, it was a rough afternoon. The end. Oh, and I never saw Bob.
You never saw him again?
I don't think so. Did I?
Oh
I
my
honestly,
gosh.
no, wait. Oh, no, I don't think I saw him. But I thought of this because a few days ago I saw him. I guess I followed him on Instagram, which I didn't remember. Saw him post about his current partner who is really hot, really cute. Very happy for him because, man, what a sorry experience he had with me over a course of 2 years.
Yeah, that's wild.
That he had this kind of dating experience with me, but then ended on such a sour note. And
man,
bless his heart.
This is not the first time someone has thrown up on a date with me.
I was like, oh my God.
That's like,
this sucks for you. And little did he know that I was like dealing with this other ex-Bob mental stuff. I just felt so bad.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, that's one of my many, many wild dating stories. But
that is genuinely wild.
Yeah. I almost ate my birth control out of a vomit toilet.
I don't think a single person hearing this would have judged you for it had you taken the pill out of the toilet and eaten it.
And that is why abortions should be legal.
Fuck yeah. Honestly, fuck yeah. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Otherwise, we have to take our birth control.
That's the name of this episode.
And that is why abortion should.
But it's the truth. Yeah, that's the fucking truth. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
That's it.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course, it's nice to get it off my chest.
You never saw him again. That was it.
I didn't, and I mean, and Bob number 2, ex Bob. I don't know if he'll ever listen to this because we're still friendly, but I'll just give you an example of like something he did was like sit in a tub of condensed milk for 48 hours, like as an experiment or something. Like I was really coming from a situation where I mean I should not have been going out of my house, period. So
okay, all right.
You live, you learn.
You live, you learn.
You live, you learn. That is
my gosh. That's crazy. Okay, do you wanna wrap it up with a nice little ghost story?
Quick ghost story, sure. So this is my only, I think my only experience with what I really do believe was a real spirit or a ghost.
Okay, cool.
And I'm not
okay. Let me ask. Are you like sensitive to stuff like that? Like,
I think
obviously not necessarily like seeing something because you just said this is your only time like actually experiencing it. But like, are you sensitive to like energies or like vibes or what's your experience with that?
Yes, I definitely get spooked, but I'm not like a hokey pokey girl where I'm like, it's a full moon, so like we're all really suffering right now. Like I don't feel like sorry. I do like enjoy hearing about that stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm very like what we see is kind of in front of us.
Yeah.
So I get spooked, but I was younger at the time. I was about 14, I think. I was on a vacation with my parents, and they were staying in a guest house of this like before Airbnb existed, but it was on Orcas Island off the coast of Seattle.
I have a buddy who lives on Orcas Island.
Really? So it's a beautiful island. It's very like it is very specific kind of sepia vibes.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That makes absolute
The
sense.
filter sepia. So we go to this place we're staying. They're staying in this guest house, which is separate from where me and my friend Coley are staying. And we're both like young at the time. And we stay in the homeowner's basement.
Okay.
Can already see where this is going.
Yep.
Maybe. She's this older woman whose husband had died a few months before. And there was 2 rooms in the basement. One was the garage converted into a bedroom, which had fully never been touched and was real creepy vibes. So me and Coley were like, we're going to sleep in the same bed in this other room, which was her husband's like guy room or whatever.
Okay.
So like maybe 3 or 4 nights in, I wake up at like, 3 a.m. or something. It's dark out and I hear piano music and I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God, is this old woman playing piano? That's wild. Then I realized like it's not a piano, it's an organ and it's a CD coming from like the CD player in our room.
No.
And
I'm like,
Coley, Coley, wake up. She's like, what? I'm like, do you hear that music? She's like, yeah. Like she didn't give a shit. I'm like, cool. So every single song gets kind of like more intense, this organ music. And I'm just like,
it's playing for a while.
It's the whole CD.
Oh my
A full ass
God.
hour. The windows are closed. Okay. We'd been there for 3 nights already. So we know there wasn't like an alarm on the CD player, which was unplugged. Not a battery CD player. It was unplugged.
Hang on.
Questions? Well, I didn't know that until I went up to it after because I was just like, oh, maybe it's playing like off of
it's
like
an
alarm.
Yeah, or like a battery powered something.
Yeah, but we'd already been there for 3 nights. So I'm like,
Yeah.
who the fuck? Like what, how, you know what I mean?
Oh
So
my God.
then like the very last song, I kid you not, it's like the sun's kind of starting to rise, but still pretty dark. Like the very last song, like towards the end of the song, like my hair brushes over my face. Like a wind, a gust comes over me. The windows are closed. There's no air on. There wasn't heat. It was fucking freezing. Like there's no way there could have been a draft. And then like the sun's up now. I like kind of get up and like go over to this like CD player that's just like going around and around and around. I'm like, it's not plugged in. Okay. And then I never figured it out. But extended part of this story is that the artist of the organ music was named Christopher Peacock. Okay. And he was like a very well-known organist on the island. And a few days later, we ended up stumbling into this organ concert that was by him. He was playing his organ music. And she had like this woman who owned the house had like, 8 of his CDs. It was just weird, and I can't explain it. But
crazy.
For sure was probably her husband fucking with us. Isn't that crazy?
That's literally insane.
The rest of the vacation, I was like, I'm not going to the bathroom without the door closed. Like, I just like forced it. Like, I didn't do anything alone. I was so creeped out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was wild.
The idea of like, oh, I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard music. I feel like that's like kind of a fairly common experience. But you like stayed awake and listened to this album and then you discovered that it wasn't even plugged in.
And it's not like it was coming from anywhere else because it was like a house in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I threw up my birth control and
God. Yeah. Bob number 2 is the organist.
He was there in his tub of milk. It was crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. So maybe not I really want to hear this other ghost story by whoever told you that. I'm like, I'm trying to listen to that episode. Yeah.
Well, thank you. This was fun.
Thank you so much. It was good to talk to you.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to listen to these stories. It'll be fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good rest of your week.
You too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
See ya. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Tell Me Yours. Thank you so much to Dahlya for sharing both of those awesome stories. If you want to follow Dahlya on Instagram, she is just at Oprah Winfreckle, which shockingly is spelled exactly how it sounds. She posts about her gigs that she books, her acting, her singing, etc. Look her up on Spotify as well. Her music is truly incredible. If you want to follow us, Instagram and Twitter, we are just at Tell Me Yours Pod. And then if you want some bonus conversation with Dahlya, a little bit of extra time, head over to patreon.com/tellmeyours. You'll get the full unedited conversation along with video. Thank you again to Dahlya. Thank you so much for listening. And until next week, be kind to each other, and we'll talk soon.